Hello, everybody. How are you? And I'm Daili, and welcome to a special series of COVID-19 webinar that Dawn has partnered up with Business Connect, the Community Migrant Resource Centre, and for today's topic on commercial tenancy and government support with JB Solicitors. So this is very new for us. Hello, everybody. This is very new for us, and we are testing this, and so bear with us as we navigate through tonight's webinar. And but first, I'd like to invite Eva from Community Migrant Resource Centre and Business Connect to come and talk to us about the program before we start the webinar.
Hi everyone, hope you are well and staying safe during this hard time. Today, I'm Eva Al Business Connect advisors. I'm from Syria originally and from Arabic backgrounds, speaking main languages Arabic and English as well. Today we're gonna cover in our webinar COVID-19 government support and commercial tenancy. So الدعم الحكومي للإيجارات التجارية. So I'm gonna introduce our program Business Connect to you guys. If you want to help with anything. So Business Connect is a dedicated and personalized New South Wales government program that provides trust advice to help you start or grow your small business. So Business Connect هذا برنامج حكومي مخصص لتقديم استشارات موثوقة ومناسبة لمساعدة الأفراد على تأسيس مصلحة الأعمال التجارية الخاصة بهم وتطويرها. We're gonna let you know what we're gonna do in Business Connect. We can running our lots of workshops, webinars, seminars, and we can also do individual session, one-to-one session for everyone, and everyone have 4-hour free advice from us. And we can link you guys with other services. We can link you with websites. It's a good website to help you with the small business, with your business, or with your problems, with your needs. And we are working under CMRC, Community Migrant Resource Center. Community Migrant Resource Center has lots of projects. So one of those projects is Business Connect Multicultural Advisory Service. So this is our lovely team. If you can see in the photo, so we have multi-language in our team. We have lots of language, Vietnamese, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Arabic, and Korean as well. Also, we are talking. We are give advice in NDIS. Like if anyone want to be a provider in NDIS, so we can help him with. Business Connect is cover all New South Wales. Include the regional area, Tamuth, Orange, Dabu, and lots of there. So every year we have lots of events, lots of client in other also in the regional area, and we can also contact them. How to register with us with Multicultural Business Connect Advisor. So there is me and Anas, as Anas gonna be on the chat as well. We are from Arabic background, so this is our links. You can reach us if you registered in those links. You can go to the Business Connect portal, our contact number, our email, so you can reach us guys, and we refer you, like what I said, to the right service or the right way. And this is the link here for the Business Connect portal, so you can go and find advisor from here. So if you wanna in Cantonese or Mandarin or any different language or English as well, so there is lots of information. So you can go on this website and then register with us. I'm gonna stay with you guys here on all the session. Now we're gonna go to Ahmad and give Daili the mic to just introduce Ahmad, and I will stay with you with the chat, and in the end I'll come back to question and to answer the questions and help you with all your needs. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us in this webinar. Enjoy.
Thank you. Hi, so that's technology for you. We're trying to obviously do this live, and it's new. And I'd like to welcome Ahmad Al Sarray.
Hello.
Hello, Ahmad. Ahmad is from JB Solicitors. So thank you for being part of tonight's webinar.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Now, Ahmad's background is quite interesting. So you came here when you were 18.
I did.
Yeah, that wasn't long ago, a few years ago. Is that right?
It was, just 2 years ago or so.
Tell us about that. There you go, 2 years ago, and tell us how. Tell us a little bit about background. Where did you come from, and when you got here, and how you got into law?
Well, I just got lucky. So I was born back in Iraq, and we had to migrate to Jordan after the war. I'm lucky and unlucky. I'm a part of a family who are very activists. So they were politicians and military personnel, and
Wow.
we got involved, and then we got kicked out,
Okay, and you survived that journey.
and we survived.
Yeah, and so you arrived here 18, and you had wanted to be a lawyer. Like, is that what you wanted to do?
I wanted to make a difference. I know everyone nowadays says they want to make a difference. I really felt it. I really wanted to make a difference, and I knew law was the way to do it.
And so you got the degree and studied very hard from the sound of it. Within 2 years, you became a lawyer.
I did. It's been an amazing journey. It's been very hard, but very, very rewarding as well. If I stayed back in Iraq, I don't know what would have happened to me. I don't think I would have made anything out of myself, but here I am,
Well, thank you, and I hope that So Ahmad will be presenting give the presentation for the next 45 minutes. So I'll leave you in his wonderful and capable hands. We'll come back later towards the end for Q&A. So tune in and let him present.
All right. Thank you, Dali. Thanks for the introduction. Very nice introduction. Let me introduce myself. So today I'll be doing the webinar on commercial tenancies in partnership with Dawn and CMRC. Let me introduce myself and my team. We are JB Solicitors. We're a law firm located in Canley Heights, Sydney CBD, and Bondi Junction. We have expertise in range of areas. So this is a summary of what we do. We do divorce and family law, civil disputes and litigation. We do commercial and corporate law. We do property and conveyancing, criminal law and traffic, wills and estate planning, employment law and workplace relations, and land and environmental law. This is my team. This is my family. JB Solicitors, John Bowie, the principal. We got James, who is an associate, Mohammed Basik, who's an associate and the manager, myself, Vivian Lee, who is a lawyer, Nicholas Robertson, who's a lawyer, and Megan Koo, who's also a lawyer. And this is how you can contact us. Visit our website, or you can contact Business Connect and ask them to refer you to us, and they will do that. You can go on Facebook, on LinkedIn if you like. Visit our website. I think any information you need is also on our website. I have to make a disclaimer. This is not, neither this podcast, webinar, or any newsletters constitute legal advice. This is general information. Anything that's been said now or will be said later will not attract the legal privilege that normally is the case in the case of a new client and a solicitor. So this is general information. If you subscribe to this or subscribe to our newsletter, then this general advice, not specific advice. If you need help, we're more than happy to help. Just contact Business Connect, ask for us, or visit our website, and I'm hoping we can help you. So there are 5 topics I'll be covering today. The first topic is what restrictions was imposed by the New South Wales government and also the federal government. The second question is what are the contractual obligations on small businesses? Then I'll move to cover contract and whether they can be terminated. Then I'll talk about employees and employers and their obligations and rights. And lastly, I'll talk about asset protection. How can you protect yourself in these times? So the New South Wales government, as well as the federal government, imposed various rules and restrictions and guidelines and code of conduct about what to do in these times. These are very uncertain times, and this guidance, is much needed right now. So the first thing is, we all know, the social distancing. So primarily affecting all facets of life, but also businesses. So the 1.5 rule applies even with businesses. Inside the premise, there is a maximum occupancy of one person per 4 square meters. And there has to be markers in shops. For example, in retail shops, there has to be markers from the counter. Let's go back to the businesses that can and cannot operate. The government was very specific with what businesses are essential and what businesses are not essential. It will be easier for you if you have this question to simply look it online and see if your business is included in that list. If not, then it will probably be deemed as an essential business. Basically, a non-essential business is as listed there. So in terms of pubs, razor clubs, these are non-essential except for the food aspect of it. Food and beverages, basically, as long as they are not consumed on the premise. Equally with restaurants are essential businesses to the extent of providing food and beverages that can be consumed off their premise and not inside the premise. So that include pickups and deliveries. And I understand a lot of restaurants are affected by that. It's not an easy thing to do. Places of worship, we all know that. Weddings, it's limited to 5 people, and funerals limited to 10 people. I'm not going to go through the specific list. I think it's important that you know, but it's easy to find out which one you are and you're not, whether you're an essential business or you're not. The second thing to consider is to talk about the federal measure. So there are 2 levels of government. There is the federal and there is the state. The federal governs the whole of Australia. The states, it is basically each state has its own parliament and they make rules. There's a question of freedom of the states. So the federal government can only do so much. It's up to the state to implement these rules. The federal government introduced the National Cabinet Mandatory Code of Conduct that affects the whole of Australia and provides measures to landlords and tenants. The primary thing that this measure stipulates is that landlords and tenants must negotiate. They must sit with each other and find a resolution, because each case is unique, each tenancy is unique, each lease is unique. It's very hard to have a hard rule to apply to all. It's unfair for landlords to suffer damages where the tenant should bear them, and equally it's unfair for tenants to bear damages where the landlord should bear them. So there has to be a balance. If landlords and tenant cannot reach an agreement, the next thing to be considered is, and it's mandatory, at least on a federal level, is that they must attend mediation. Mediation is an informal process of dispute resolution. It's like a courtroom, but very small, without the formality of it. There's a mediator who's someone, let's call him an informal judge, and that mediator will make a determination, will hear both sides and make a determination, and that determination is binding. It's cost effective, it's quick, it's fair and just. Normally mediators are either former judges or senior lawyers, senior barristers, and I think it's smart to do that. But the first thing to do is negotiate. Parties must negotiate. They must try to reach a resolution between themselves before jumping to legal action. I think legal action should be the last resort. Yeah. Let me just give you a quick summary in Arabic to the Arabic speakers. I understand there are some Arabic speakers who are listening right now. Give me 5 minutes, or maybe less than that, a few minutes. I'll just explain it in Arabic. كنت أتكلم هسه على العقود. كيف واحد يقدر يطلع من العقد؟ مثلا إذا واحد دخل بعقد وما يقدر هسه يدفع فلوسه أو ما يقدر ينفذ القواعد العقد هذه، في 3 حلول لهذا. اول حال انه العقد هذا الشيء يقول مثلا اكو في مضمون من العقد يقول لك اذا اكو في قوه قاهره، قوه خارجه عن اللي يقدر يسويه طرف من العقد، يقدرون يطلعون من العقد. بس هذه يكون لازم موجوده، هذا البنود هذه موجوده بالعقد نفسه. اذا ما موجوده صعب شويه. والثاني شيء اكو قانون يقول انه اذا صار في شيء خارج نطاق قدرة شخص ما يقدر مثلا يكمل العقد، يقدر يطلع منه. وثالث شيء قانون يقول اذا واحد عنده يعني المفروض يسوي في شيء وما قدر يسوي، مثلا اذا المفروض يدفع في شيء وما قدر يدفعه، فهذا يصير يقدر واحد يطلع من العقد هذا، بس يقدر يسوي مثلا يعني legal proceedings، ياخذ واحد على المحكمة لأنه ما قدر يسوي. هاي 3 حلول للcontract. Thank you for your patience, everyone else. I'm trying to be catering for both listeners English and Arabics. Let me just, I'm mindful of the time. I want to make sure I want to cover everything. Let me touch on this point. I think this is important. What happens if the tenant closes the premise even though they're not obligated to? Well, that's goes beyond that. That goes to the aspect of free choice. The tenant could have left the shop open and they didn't. Well, they have to comply. They have to pay rent and the rest of it. And they can't just walk out of it because of that, even though it's not their preference, because it's not imposed by the government. Excuse me. It would be unfair for landlords to suffer damage because the tenant decided not to comply with the lease. So there's a bit of a common sense element to it. I want to be mindful of the time. I'll just jump on. This is a very important topic. Liquidation and insolvency and bankruptcy. So back in normal times, when a company could not pay its debts on time, it could be deemed insolvent. And if the company, for example, if a company owes me money and I request that money and they don't pay it, and I issue them a statutory demand, which is just a letter saying pay me, and this letter is written in accordance with the Corporations Act. Very simple letter. If they don't pay that, after 21 days, they are deemed insolvent. So I can go take them through liquidation, administration, and break up the company. Well, this doesn't happen nowadays, unfortunately. And also the debt back then used to be $5,000 and now extended to $20,000. And instead of 21 days, now companies have 6 months to comply with. So if the company owes me money, I issue them a statutory demand. They have 6 months to comply with that. If they don't, then they can become insolvent. As you can imagine, if the same rule applied, and most companies nowadays can't pay their debt, most of them will go into liquidation. And of course, there's a trickle-down effect on the economy. The more businesses close, the more unemployment, the more economical impact. I think it's a sensible measure. And the same thing applies to individuals. So the difference between bankruptcy and insolvency is that insolvency relates to the company, whereas bankruptcy relates to the individual and also includes sole traders. So sole traders are deemed to be individuals. So unless it's a company, then it goes to bankruptcy. And the same thing applies, which is instead of 21 days. It's 6 months period. I think it's very sensible. It makes people work on resolving the issues with less stress. Now, in terms of the director's duties, just because the government has loosened up some of the requirements for directors, that doesn't mean that the obligations of the directors themselves is loosened up as well. It's actually it's still the same. So, directors have a range of duties. One of them is fiduciary relationship, due care and diligence. They have to comply with the reporting obligations. They must not engage in misleading and deceptive conduct. Still the same, hasn't changed. Just this grace period of from 21 days to 6 months extended, and the amount. So instead of $5,000, now it's $20,000. So you can only declare someone, have someone become insolvent or bankrupt after 6 months. I'm not going to touch on breaches of contract. I think I touched on these principles already. There's no point in going deeper into that. I'm just aware of my time. The next topic is very important, so I want to dedicate a bit of time on it. It's employment rights. Before I go to employment right, I'll just say a few things in Arabic. Just bear with me. أعزائي المستمعين العربيين، كنت هسه أتحدث عن الشركات والأشخاص إنه يسوي لهم bankruptcy. هسه القانون تغير. كان قبل القانون يقول إذا واحد ما يقدر يدفع بعد 21 يوم يقدر يروح تاخذه على bankruptcy. bankruptcy معناته الإفلاس بالعربي. هذا القانون تغير من 21 يوم إلى 6 أشهر. ما تقدر تاخذ واحد سوى له bankruptcy إفلاس إلا بعد 6 أشهر. ونفس الشيء ينطبق على الشركات. ما تقدر تاخذ سوي الإفلاس الشركة إلا بعد 6 أشهر. كان قبل 21 يوم، هسه صار 6 أشهر. والديت الدين كان 5000 تقدر تسوي الإفلاس، هسه صار 20000، فتغير شوية. Back to you, my patient listeners who are listening in English. Thank you for your patience. Now let's move on to employment rights and obligations. It's no surprise that COVID-19 has affected employment in unprecedented ways. Actually, it could be precedented, but that was maybe 100 years ago or so, where employment was this uncertain during the Great Depression. Because businesses cannot keep employees, as one could imagine. Well, what are the rights of these employees, and what are the rights of employers? And again, the idea, there are a bundle of measures introduced by the government, and the idea of it is, how can we make this fair? Because a business owner should not bear the burden of having, say, for example, 10 employees if none of them are employed, none of them are making any money. And equally, having 10 employees walk out with no pay, with no rights, that would be disastrous for the economy and the employees as well, and the community. How to make a balance? There has to be a balance. And the Fair Work Commission, which deals with this in a great way, so they're trying to make some form of this. In law, there's a bit of distinction between unfair dismissal and redundancy. Redundancy means if the position is no longer needed in the business, then that employee is no longer needed with the position, so they just make them redundant, pay them a certain amount if they are not a small business. If the business is not a small business, which is 15 employees, then they must pay that worker a certain amount, and they walk out. But what happens if it is a dismissal, but it's unfair because there's no redundancy, there's no genuine redundancy? And how does it apply now? Well, the government introduced a measure which is the last resort should be dismissal. There's too much of a great impact if all employees are dismissed, fairly or unfairly. So this is now the last resort. And the government is encouraging negotiations between employers and employees, just so everyone is happy. It's very hard to make everyone happy in these times. There has to be a compromise that has to be made by both parties. But employees are still entitled to work. So as long as the job can be performed, then they should perform it. And if the job cannot be performed from the office or the place of employment, then the employer must take all reasonable measures to ensure that the job is performed in some other way. And one of them is working from home, which is it's a very common practice. I work from home myself, arguably just as effective. John may disagree with that, but I think arguably just as effective. This should be applied with other businesses as well. If there's no work, basically, employers cannot dismiss employees in the first instance. The second thing they have to do is they have to stand them down. So they're still employed by the company. They just don't get paid. Once things pick up again, then they go back to their employment. Now the question is, well, what's the point of being employed if no one's getting paid? A very reasonable question. The benefit of being employed still is, well, one, there's a bit of guarantee that if things go back to normal, you can go back to your job. But also, you're still entitled to your leave entitlement. So if you have any paid leave, you can take it. If you have annual leave, long service leave, you can take it as well. If you have sick leave, you can take it on the condition, of course, that you're sick and you provide a medical certificate to your employer. Now, what happens if you contract the coronavirus or one of your family members contract the coronavirus as an employee? Reasonable question. Hopefully, we won't go to a point where this is common, but that's a very, very reasonable question. The coronavirus is just treated as other illness. It is unique in its way, but it's just another illness. So if someone gets sick, they don't lose their job normally. The same thing applies here. So if someone gets sick, they should take sick leave. They should take unpaid leave if they exhaust all the sick leave and wait until they get well enough to go back to their employment. So there's this some form of peace of mind that not everyone is going to lose their job if everyone gets sick. And again, if someone gets sick with the coronavirus and they can work from home and they feel well enough to work from home, they should. Of course, not all jobs can be performed from home, but I mean, there may be some exceptions. Well, the second question is, what happens if you don't get ill, but someone else that you know, say, for example, a family member or a very close friend or a dependent? You are entitled under the law to have paid carers leave, so you can care for them and still be paid and not lose your job. So I'm hoping that you all will be patient with me. I'll just speak Arabic just a little bit in 2 minutes or so. أعزائي مستمعينا بالعربي، كنت أتحدث عن اللي يشتغلون الشغيلة، إنه إذا مثلا ماكو شغل بعد وين يروحون؟ اللي مشغلهم لازم يدفع لهم الليف تبعهم، مثلا annual leave إذا عندهم annual leave، أو يدفع لهم، يمكن يسوي arrangement، يمكن يخليهم يشتغلون من البيت أحسن من ما يشتغل من المكتب وتكمل الدفع، يدفع لهم رواتبهم كالعادي. وإذا هذول الموظفين تمرضوا من فيروس كورونا ياخذون sick leave، leave مرضي، والدفع الراتب يظل مستمر لحد ما انه المرض تبعهم يروح ان شاء الله، او تخلص السيك ليف تبعهم. بعد هذا يروحون بدون دفع، يظلون متوظفين بس بدون دفع. Back to you, my patient and English listeners. So, entitlements. The next thing to cover about employees and employers is contractors. Is very common in this community. Is there are lots of contractors, and there are lots of casual workers. Now, unfortunately, because of the nature of their employment, casual workers and contractors don't have this grace that's imposed by the government. So they don't have these protection and guarantees because of the nature of their work. Part-time employees, they still have their entitlements in terms of keeping their jobs and getting paid annual leave, sick leave, etc., but not casual employees and not contractors. Unfortunately, they get none of that. Especially contractors. It's just another business, basically being a contractor. So that's the unfortunate part. Now, the next thing I will cover, I'm going to skip a few things because I'm almost run out of time, is asset protection. I mean, we work most of our lives trying to build something and we want to protect it. So assets extend to not just your own money. It could be your company money, or assets, properties, either yours or your family's or your business. How to protect it? Well, I understand this is morbid talk, but these are very uncertain times. The first thing you should consider is preparing your will, which is set out your intention. What's your intention? What do you want to do with it if something happens to you? Where should this go? It's a very simple process to prepare a will. You can contact a solicitor, or you can do it yourself. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it yourself. You can just buy a kit and just do it at home. Make sure there are 2 witnesses to the will, and make sure it's saved, placed in a very safe place. I highly recommend getting a solicitor to do that. The second thing you can do is, well, you can create a trust. Now, it's a bit hard to explain in a few minutes what a trust is, but the operation of a trust is to protect you from frivolous creditors, so people who just want to get money out of you. It's a bit harder for them to do that if you have a trust. And also, if you operate in a trust, and a trust, by the way, is just a piece of document. It's just a few pages document that's signed, and it says this is intended to create a trust, and it grants the trustee some protection. So if you are granted to be a trustee, which is again just a title, you're still a person, and someone sues you, they can go after you personally, but not after the trust money or the trust assets. It's a bit more complicated than that, but it's also very simple. I wish I had more time to talk about it, but this is one of the measures you can do. The third thing you could do is talk to a financial advisor. I'm a lawyer. I can tell you all about the law, but I can't really give you financial advice. There are people who are much better than me who can give you financial advice, and they can advise you on investing in different avenues or whatever other measures they would recommend. I highly recommend talking to a financial advisor if you have questions. And the fourth thing that you can do is, well, if you're concerned about your own capacity, consider doing a power of attorney. So a power of attorney allows someone else, being your attorney, to make decisions, mostly financial decisions, about what you own and what you have if you have no capacity for whatever reason. So if you get one of the questions I get asked is, well, what if I have coronavirus inside? I can't run my business. Well, appoint someone else as a backup. And if you're inaccessible for whatever reason, the attorney can help you. And the last thing you could do is appointing a guardian. So the difference between an attorney and a guardian is, attorney deals with your financials, a guardian deals with your lifestyle. So a guardian can make decisions about what health treatment you get, where you stay, what medical treatment you get. There are some decisions, for example, where someone is required to make a choice, and if someone is unconscious or unable to do that, then the guardian would jump in and assist. And again, this is just a piece of document that could be prepared by a lawyer, mostly a lawyer. I don't think a lay person, an individual, can do that. I'm sure there's a way of doing it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend just contacting a lawyer. It just costs a few $100 to do it, and this would give you some peace of mind. I'm aware that I'm a bit out of time, and I will save my Arabic to my questions after that. But this basically concludes this workplace.